is 6 p.m. Today is May 22nd, 21st. I'd now like to call this meeting to order and ask you to please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Father God, we thank you for this day. Lord, before we get started, I ask that you please help us, cover us, give us the wisdom that is needed to make everything in this city work profitable and pleasing unto you. Lord, we have a lot before us this year, and I ask you to just guide us every step of the way. So please bless us, cover everyone that's here and those that can't be, and allow us to be a city that puts you first in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, citizen comments. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each speaker, and your comments are appreciated. As the Open Meetings Act does not allow for council to respond to items not listed on the agenda, your comments will be duly noted and sent to the appropriate department for prompt consideration. A member of the audience that desires to speak during the City Council's consideration of any specific agenda item is requested to notify city staff prior to the start of the meeting. At this time, the first name I have is Mary Ann Fetchin. Please come forward, state your name and address. Thank you.
My reason for appearing this afternoon before you is to request that your budget include some funds for a pain animal spay neuter. As you probably know, spay neuter is pretty much the standard of animal care across the country these days, and especially in cities like Austin, which has been one of the first cities to become a no-kill city. But then, since that time, a lot of other cities in Texas across the United States have become involved in this life-saving endeavor. Basically, spay neuter just means sterilization of an animal so that it can reproduce, so that it's not constantly in that cycle of mating and giving birth, and then those animals, the progeny also, continue to reproduce. So it basically saves the lives of a lot of animals by eliminating unwanted births. It can also save tax dollars because it reduces the number of animals that are taken into the shelter. As you know, a mother dog a lot of times can have up to sometimes 12 puppies, and that's an awful lot of intake for the city. So simply by working upstream, removing cause of the overpopulation problem, that can bring a lot of relief to the whole situation of animal suffering and overcrowding. Overcrowding the shelter. In addition to reducing the numbers, it also reduces a lot of nuisance complaints, particularly things like cats yowling when you're mating or aggressively fighting, or sometimes marking your territory. Most of these behaviors are eliminated just by a simple procedure of spaying or neutering. And this procedure, spay neuter of animals, works well in large cities, as I said, like Austin City, and a lot of other places, but it also works well in similarly sized cities. For example, the city of New Orleans has an active spay neuter program. Residents there, and they have about the same number of people that Orange does. Residents there can get up to 3 pets, neutered or spayed, a year, which I think is very interesting and really helps to reduce the problem here. And that's per fiscal year. So if there are more animals in the neighborhood that need to be done, they can go ahead and take care of that too. And it has worked so well here that they don't have to do intake of cats anymore. Cats don't go to the shelter, they can instead have kids spayed or neutered, and they city manager there is the administrator for the program. He believes in it so strongly that he started the program, he found the funding for it from other sources, and he still, after several years, still oversees the operation. And also give Bill's eligibility, if he has questions for us. So anyway, I hope the city of Orange will join this life-saving endeavor, not just for saving the tax dollars, but also for reasons of compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And next we have Kelly Kays.
Familiar Kelly Kays, I live in Winnie, Texas, 46018 IH East. And I'm administering the grant that y'all received, which is approximately $30,000. And that was to spay neuter 150 cats, and $50 is included in that program. Since we started, your live release rate was only 49%, and just in the short term, it's already up to 74%. I went by the shelter today to check. He hadn't had any euthanasias this month. He's had 2 adoptions today. And the vaccines are working to help him not have parvo and get other rescues a little bit more involved. The Humane Society Board has put together a program to help. So I just would hope that, I get in a working session or something to explain a little bit more and help y'all get a true trap neuter started. And I think that $30,000 is a wonderful figure to say that's kind of what we need to do vaccines at the shelter. And also do this spay neuter program. And all of these people are citizens of Orange, you know, what they are, and they came to express their interest in improving that. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And next we have David Baldry.
I'm David Baldry, 6310 Engelbrush Trail. Keep my comments short. I just wanted to speak out in favor of the trap neuter release program. I think, under the current program with animals reproducing, you'll never get ahead of the game with current trajectory. Excuse me. Trap neuter release will help reduce the intake of the shelter, and it will give animals the dignity to live their lives out without abuse. That's all the comments I have. Now, I spoke to a number of other residents of the city, and they're very good also.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the council? There are no other names on my sheet. If not, we will move, close the citizen comments and now move to the budget workshop. So, Mr. Coombs.
Right. Thank you, Mayor, Council, everybody else, staff, everybody else showed up. I am fighting some of that call from the smoke coming out of Central America according to urgent care. So I don't have anything strange, but do have that. So if I'm coughing and sucking on a throat lodger, that is why. So anyway, the mayor and I a couple of months ago were talking about some of the issues that we're going to talk about today, and we both felt that we need to kind of have a special call meeting to discuss some of our revenue challenges and budget going forward. So we are having this first budget hearing maybe a little sooner than the process that we normally do, but we felt strongly that we need to do this. So again, we're going to start talking about the budget fiscal year 2025, which every time I see that year 2025, it's hard for me to comprehend that we are that far along in the 21st century. To the 2020 seems like we just got here not too long ago. But again, if you got any questions, comments, please speak up. Or as a couple of us just in that meeting at 4:30, I feel like I'm just going there talking and everybody's just sitting there waiting for the guy to conclude. And some of these slides look better than others. Some of these slides I did, some of them others didn't. So the ones that look better are the ones that other people didn't. So anyway, before we start, I always like to do this in case there's something that's weighing on your heart or in your mind. You got any comments, questions, or concerns before we start? I'll leave some other time, in the course of this presentation for us to discuss. But again, interrupt me if you like. So again, this is just kind of a review of the budget time. I know frequently people say, when do y'all talk about budget? Well, one, we talk about budget all the time. We listen to citizens, we listen to council, you know, the department heads are looking at what we're doing. We don't just talk about 2024, we're in fiscal year 2024. So if we say this year, we're talking about fiscal year 2024, which is October 1 through September 30th. That's the fiscal year for the city of Orange, but we're always talking about the budget. But more formally, May the 2nd, the appraisal district sent us the preliminary appraisal values for all the properties that are in Orange County. Historically, between the preliminary values and when we get the certified values towards the end of July, those decrease. But in May, the department heads begin working on their budgets. And towards the end of May, I don't know exactly when, Cheryl said, look, I need to see your budgets. So when that happens, as I mentioned this before, Cheryl, the department head, and I will meet as collectively, the three of us, will talk about those requests that they have. And typically at that time, you know, we kind of scrub it a little bit, and there's a lot of, yeah, that all sounds good. And then Cheryl, once we talk with everybody individually, then she'll do her whole little magic and all that stuff that she does, and then she says, Mike, we gotta modify that some more. So we continue to work on that. But it can only go so far in the process, because on July the 25th, she's going to get the certified tax rolls from the appraisal district, and with that, the tax rates from the tax assessor collector. The tax rate being things like the no new revenue rate, meaning what is that percentage, what is that tax rate that if we adopt that, there would be basically no new revenue that we're taking in. There's also a voter approval rate, meaning if we exceed that rate, it has to go to an election. So anyway, from July 25th to August the 12th, when we bring you a proposed budget, Cheryl is very busy. And she's doing her little magic account thing, and I'm glad I don't have to do with that detail. But on August the 12th, we will bring you a proposed budget. Now, that proposed budget, I'm required by the charter to bring you a balanced budget. So keep that in mind as we go through tonight. But following that proposed budget, we're gonna have a couple of budget hearings. We gotta have 2 readings of the budget, because every ordinance that we adopt, when we adopt the ordinance about budget, we adopt the budget ordinance, requires 2 readings. And the last day to adopt our budget is September 27th. If we fail to do that, we consider that the proposed budget is adopted as the budget. Now, I go to my notes. When Harvey happened, of course, I was down the road about it, but talking to Cheryl too, we didn't get any extensions for that. So she, you know, something like that happened, she's gonna be in her RV up at the lake typing away on her laptop. There's no extensions for natural disasters or anything crazy like that. So if that stuff happens, we just gotta plug away it. And again, if we don't adopt the budget, the proposed budget is deemed to be adopted September 27th. So, that very little. Anything, questions, comments? Anything to cuss or discuss? So, tonight, we're basically just gonna talk about the general fund. You know, our budget is made up of several different funds. The general fund, we'll talk about some specific revenue streams. That's the most flexible of what we have. It's the name, I guess, general. But the enterprise funds, mainly water, sewer, sanitation, basically only can be used for water, sewer, sanitation. Whatever that fund is set up for, it's a restricted fund. And the enterprise fund only gets money basically from services. So what we charge the customers, they pay us, that's our revenue stream. And please, everything I'm trying to say tonight is kind of in general, okay? So we can all kind of get the big picture. If you want to drill down something, we can, or perhaps better, you know, offline, we can do that. Just real quick, EDC, the Economic Development Fund, can only be spent for EDC projects. All kind of grants can only be used for that thing, or whatever that grant is written for and accepted. Hotel occupancy tax can only be used for hotel, to promote our hotel and touristry industry. And I'm sure y'all can think of some others, like the fire department has a confined space rescue, yes, it's called, can only be used for those kind of things. So, general fund only, the big three, and if you can see, council, I gave you some supporting documents. These are not the slides, but this is some supporting documents that go along with this presentation. It's all public records, you can take it home with you. The big three revenue streams for the general fund: ad valorem taxes, which we commonly call property taxes. What's listed in the budget under other taxes, that's where you're gonna find sales tax. Included in that other taxes are some things like franchise fees, bingo fee taxes, and like mixed beverages taxes. But the majority of other taxes is sales tax. But not all of other taxes is sales tax. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then payments in lieu of taxes, sometimes called pilot, but that's our industrial district agreements and our chapter 380 economic development agreement. And we'll talk a little bit about more, all of these here in just a second. Let's go first, our total operating revenue for 2024, what we have this year, just over $29 million. So, some quick math, meaning we have to have a balanced budget, our expenditures can only be $29 million. And so out of that $29 million, from property taxes, we get a little over 9, other taxes, 6.8, and we're gonna pull out, we'll talk about specifically about the sales tax here in just a second. And then the payment in lieu of taxes, $10.8 million. So the city of Orange would not be the city of Orange without payments in lieu of taxes. And again, this is, we'll go back, some of this is review, but property tax, valuation of your property, the mayor's house is worth $10 bajillion, times our property tax rate this year is 7.7595, and that's after his, again, homestead exemption, the different things that one might have, but whatever that taxable value times tax rate is what you gotta pay. So we know, as your value of your home goes up, you don't pay more, even if the tax rate stays the same. Hopefully everybody can hear me. You've seen this before because we used it last year, but average home value, again, not the mayor's bajillion dollar house, but the average for this fiscal year, taxable value, not the market value, the taxable value is $132,809. You multiply that by 7,595, the average taxpayer who owns a home in Orange, $1,008 a year. That's $84 a month. As you recall, we typically do something like, what do you get for that $84 a month? Yep. And as the mayor holds up his phone, it's like, most of us pay, if you have one phone, you can pay more than $84 a month for one phone. So just go back to 22, the average taxable home value, 105, 115, 132. Our tax rate, 105, 10059, 783, 759. So it goes down, taxable values go up, tax rate goes down, taxes being paid are more, they are more. So, but this is what we have control of. We can't control anything else really. And I always say, the one thing we're trying to do is to increase the value of your home. Just think if we had zero crime, we had no drainage problems, we had no, perfect water, so we had all these perfect things, and our homes would be worth a lot of money. You walk back over here so I can finish. Any questions about that slide?
Yeah, so just because it'll be on YouTube and before we have another weird Orange Leader article, my house was built in 1955 and I paid $92,000 for it. $92,000 for my house. Before we see on Tuesday that I have a bajillion dollar house.
So, again, I'll say that somebody's paying the city $1,008 and we all say, my tax bill is more than $1,008. Yes, there are other entities in Orange County somebody who lives in the city of Orange also pays the county, the Port of Orange, the drainage district, and of course, I think the bigger one, it is the biggest one that most of us pays to the school district. We're all in the school district. So whether it's West Orange Cove, Little Cypress, Mauriceville, Bridge City, or Orangeville, pick a school district, we're paying one of those. So if you live out, other cities have different taxing entities, but this is the city of Orange. So, back to ad valorem taxes, we'll call them property taxes. For this year, we budgeted a little over $9 million, 9.1. Now, so that's an 8.8, that we're, supposed to collect. If everybody paid on time, we'd lose a little over $340,000. Not everybody pays on time. And we're doing fine on collections and all that, we don't have any concerns. But, what does the future hold? Again, if you remember, 2019 was passed Senate Bill 2, which restricted a city that used to be able to increase their property tax revenue. It capped it at 8.5% for that increase. It brought it down to 3.5% per year without voter approval. To be clear, there are some like this de minimis that allows small cities to increase a little bit more depending what their tax rolls are and those kind of things. But in general, we're capped at 3.5% of what we can increase on property tax. Because again, we're talking about the big three. So that one leg, 3.5%. So if things go up more than that, the 3.5, we're limited how much we can increase that. So also, we know over the last several years and continuing today, there are political officials and citizens who continue to advocate for either the elimination or reduction of property tax. That's ongoing right now. So if that continues, I don't know how that might affect our ability to collect property tax in the future. We know the state legislature meets every 2 years, so it's going to meet again in January of 2025. So, don't know what they're going to do. And I just know these things happen. And that's what I'm saying. In that packet that I handed out, a couple of articles just to support that. So with that, any questions or comments before we move away from the property tax?
Can you back up those slides? One more, right there. So delinquent tax revenue is 163?
163. That's, again, you get penalties and interest.
Right. So if everybody pays, then,
We're losing $340,000.
okay,
But no,
thank you.
so, sales tax. Again, a little review on taxable goods and services in the city of Orange. Again, that's all we're talking about, the city of Orange. We have to pay 8.25%. Of that, the state gets 6.25, the county gets 0.5%. Total to the city, 1.5%. So the comptroller sends us a check, if you will, for 1.5%. Of that, the general fund keeps 1%. So when we say the city, that's that 1%. The EDC gets 0.5% sales tax. So we're not talking about that 0.5% sales tax. And again, that's restricted. Those EDC funds are restricted. Tonight, we're only talking about that 1% that the city gets.
If there was ever a situation that we were in, could the tax rate that goes towards the EDC be adjusted?
You have to go to the election.
As it goes to the budget? Okay, thank you.
So we're talking about the city, the 1% sales tax. And it is in other taxes, okay? Excuse me. And I was saying, last year, actual and other tax, so fiscal year 2024, we budgeted $6.8 million. Of that, the sales tax portion, 5.750 for sales tax. So you got to play more bingo and drink more mixed beverages. The bad news, collections for the first 6 months of 2024, fiscal year 2024, compared to the same time period from fiscal year 2023, we have collected less money, less sales tax, to the tune of $451,503. That is hard dollars that we did not collect. The sales tax report comes out every month on the 10th, and it is for 2 months, a little 2 months behind. So when we get ours in June, that will be for April. But again, compare the 6 months from this fiscal year compared to the same time period last fiscal year, we're down $451,000. That can start to bounce back immediately. Maybe not. So, but what Cheryl and I do, we say, what's our projections for next year? That's what the budget is. We talked about this before. It's not a hard, like, this is it, but we just try to say, what does it look like? So we try to project things. But if we use what we collected for the first 6 months, we just say, let's double it. Okay, for a year, we have 6 months, double it. We'll have a deficit in sales tax for fiscal year 2024 of $900,000. Now, we actually collected, so just kind of flip it, we actually collected for the first 6 months, 2.3 million. So if we use that same formula, just double what we collected, estimated, almost $4.7 million. Sounds pretty good, except we budgeted for this fiscal year 5.75. So again, we take off the 4.7, that's $1 million deficit, if that holds true. Again, it could bounce back and go gangbusters, and we could pull out of it. Right now, we're still over $400,000 involved. Now, I would say, towards the end of last summer, so fiscal year 23, sales tax was very strong. In fact, I recall talking to Cheryl and Jay, like, hey, we need to talk about this surplus in sales tax. And almost immediately the next month, which would have been October, it started its decline. 1 month or even 2 months of sales tax is not a trend. Because, you know, we've all seen charts like the stock market where it does this. So, you know, sales tax does that. But unfortunately, it's not going up, it's going down. The last one, and again, that's in your packet, went up. But again, 1 month out of the 6. So if this holds true, we're $1 million short with sales tax. Questions on sales tax? So the third leg of the big three, if you will, using that thing that Councilmember Hennigan said about the stool with the 3 legs. So we'll say same thing. Pilot payments in lieu of taxes. Pilot. Chapter 380 agreement, economic development agreement. Now again, IDA, industrial district agreement, or industrial district contracts are the same thing. And collectively, we may call pilot the IDA. It's that same, it's all kind of bunched together. Now, chapter 380. We have a chapter 380 agreement with International Paper, basically a sales tax rebate. So we would give them, they pay property tax, obviously sales tax, and we rebate the sales tax. Now, as the years went by, we did keep some of that. So this past fiscal year, to the good, which was this year, $379,000. But we know IP closed. Now, our IDAs, industrial district contracts, however you want to call them, I typically just call it the IDA or whatever, singularly, but they are 16, when they originally came out, 16 individual companies, and they all have 16 individual agreements. They all mirrored one another, they all start at the same time, and they all end at the same, they will all end at the same time. And that's kind of why we call them singular, as opposed to, 16 of them, but it is individual companies. Basically, they pay 93% of the adopted property tax rate, so they get a 7% discount. So keep that in mind as our tax rate is going down, so we're forced to decrease our property tax rate if our property values increase, that they also benefit of that reduction in the tax rate. But I will say this, the industrial properties have a different process of how they are obtaining their valuation. So like our houses, that's one way to go with it. They have their own separate valuation system, so it's not the same. Now, I will say this, as y'all know, we just look back at the last few years. These companies buy, sell, they may sell a unit, they may split, so the new owners, and even the current owners can contest their valuations any year, that's part of the agreement, but these new owners, they also were like, we didn't sign up for that, so they're contesting that all the time too. So, successful, not successful, or lower, I mean, I can think back now, it seems like since I've been here, we paid a little bit back to this one company. Now, I wish I would ask Cheryl. But anyway, for this fiscal year 2024, $10.4 million. That's about 37% of our general fund revenue. So again, orange would not be orange without our industrial partners. But we know if this could close, that's a little over $2 million that we will not get next year. So if we add all those up, again, the pilot, 10.8 million, you take off the 2.4, so next January, if the numbers for 2024 stay true, we're gonna have 8.4 million as opposed to 10.8. So we're losing approximately 8.3% of our general fund revenue. The IDAs, as I mentioned, have a right to challenge their valuations, companies, units, bought, sold, they kind of do all that. Now, those IDAs are scheduled to expire in 2027. That was a 15-year agreement, and if I say anything wrong, Jay's gonna correct me, but say about 15 years ago, there was kind of this collective effort from, Chemical Road, where they all kind of wanted to do the same thing. They had one person kind of spearheading it, getting with the city, and I'm like, let's just try to all make it look the same time length of the contracts and all that stuff. Apparently beforehand, everybody just did their own thing, very confusing. Luckily we had one, that's why I kind of call it one, even though it was 16 different ones. Hopefully we get something like that going again. But hope's not a method. But, we plan to engage, in conversations, in 2025. I will say, it's my fault that we hire someone to do that because of the importance. And again, though, we have to keep in mind the unknown being the state legislature, which meets again in January 2025, and again January 2027. So recent history, continues, they're going to continue to erode the authority of the municipalities. That being said. Comments, questions at this point?
The one question I have, which we talked about before, is when we factor in the 2.043 for Invista or 034, and then you have 379,000 for international paper. The reason why I don't understand that one is because we always gave that back to them anyway. So how does that still hurt us?
Because like for international paper, they're not selling, there's nothing, they closed down. Same thing with this.
Right, but if we took in 370 and we always gave it back to them to help them keep their doors open, how was that ever included in our budget?
We didn't give it back, we gave a larger amount back to them. And then as it kind of faded down, if you will, we were allowed to keep, the formula allows us.
Okay. I'm just getting prepared because I know we have to make cuts. I'm just making sure that every part is, because I was like, if we were giving it back, how were we really losing it? But I see what you're saying.
And yeah, so a question might be because of, somebody made a mention the other day, it's like, there's still a little bit of property tax, but not at this level, where they're gonna,
Gotcha.
hundreds of thousands or millions.
If like Dow runs in Vista,
Right.
would we get that?
We
Would that
should.
be helpful?
We should, yes.
And if IP should perhaps sell, which, we
We should,
don't
yes.
know, but it might,
But
it might
I'll-
have- and that's just hope.
Yeah, it is, yeah, and you're right, and, you know, I was gonna talk about that a little further ahead, but let's talk about it now. Whether it's IP and that unit at Invista, or piece of property wherever, people are looking at Orange to invest, things, you know. But we know, so especially take those two big, areas, we can even say, you know, these smaller places, you know, if the richest company in the world, or the richest person in the world comes in like, boom, I wanna open that up, it takes time. It's probably not gonna be ready, especially at that level, by January, or for the next fiscal year. So currently, we're saying we lost those two for fiscal year 2025.
But also, when we bring those up, if anything like that does happen, I will ask council, like, when people come, because they're gonna come, I'm speaking into existence. There are tax abatements that are gonna be brought to the table, there's gonna be in lieu of, you know, the pilot, the payments in lieu of taxes. We have been very diligent, we have done a great job of being hosts, saying welcome to our city, but there also has to come a time where we're protecting our city and making sure that we're bringing in the financial stability that helps keep us profitable. So, not saying anything, I don't know, I'm praying like you, but I'm gonna say it's gonna come. But when that does come, we need to also make sure that we're not doing something where we're like, here's a 15-year abatement, like that can't happen, which we can't do 15. They wanna give you 10. I'm just being funny. However, we have to make sure that we're doing the best we can in the future. We've done good so far, but now it's like we're gonna be in the protected survival mode, in my opinion.
I agree, especially with the legislature
Changing it.
doing what they're doing.
Yes, the climate is different from the time when we gave those 380s and that kind of stuff. Now, we need some help for our citizens in our community.
Yeah, we're open for business, we're ready to welcome anything that's not explicit. However, we do need to make sure that we're doing the best to ensure us, a successful future. Thank you.
Right, so, what are we doing for this fiscal year, 2024? You know, a couple of months ago, department heads and I had a meeting, it's like, look, take a look at your budget. Now, you know, budget, and, you know, we plan to work the plan, and that train has kind of gone down the track, and so it's hard just to stop everything. But what I challenge them to do is try to find 10% reduction in their budget. Because again, we're about $1 million, projected $1 million short in our sales tax. So, some things we can postpone, some things, you know, can we stop? I don't know, but I've asked them, just kind of, the things that we can put on pause, put on pause. Because we know in a budget, some things are out of our control. You know, there's certain things that the police department just has to do. You know, I'm thinking if you know, like election stuff we have to do. There's a lot of stuff that the state requires us to do that we can't say, oh, you know, energy, we want to pay 10% less. Hey, turn on the lights out. I mean, there's certain things we can't do to that degree. So, thinking about 2025, and so, you know, us, it's gonna be a tough year the way it looks right now. Again, I put in some supporting documentation for y'all, hopefully, you know, appreciate y'all being here, because again, the mayor and I, you know, hey, this is serious, we need to talk about it. So as we're planning for that budget to come up, we're looking at this shortfall now. So the question that we're trying to figure out, and we may not do it right now, is this a short-term thing, or is it a long-term trend? So, if it's short-term, you know, the sales tax will rebound. You know, other parties will be interested in Vista and IP sites, because, you know, that's the kind of economic development we want. We love Chick-fil-A and Whataburger. I think I looked at Whataburger today or yesterday, you know, I like all that stuff. But we need people who are outside the city to come in and shop there. That's just me going to Whataburger as opposed to Taco Bell. But as we're in good shape financially, we have to continue that by being conservative, so we're gonna be more conservative this summer. And, you know, for the short term, we'll get back on track, we'll get there. Now, it's long term, there'll be permanent reduction in our revenue. We don't know, I'm not sitting there saying it is, but it's my job and the staff's job to start thinking, what if? You know, if it is permanent, we have to rethink how the city operates. We're gonna have to make major changes. It's gonna be in the next chapter of Orange. You know, one thing I like about Jay, always reminding us how, you know, it used to be, you know, the forest industry, the shipbuilding, and this chemical road, and then now what's coming up. So there's different chapters in Orange's life. Things change, they do, but, you know, we just kind of march on with that. We're not there yet, not there yet. I'm not saying we are, I'm just saying, kind of keep that in mind. So for the budget 2025, again, department heads, take a look at your budget, plan for approximate 10% reduction. As I mentioned, some of these things are out of control. Fuel costs, property insurance, there's state and federal requirements, a lot of other factors. You know, if our radios for our police department and fire go out, or we have to have some other kind of fancy thing, we gotta do it. But my priority, and I'll tell everybody, staff people, my priority is no layoffs, no job cuts. So we're not going there. Now, you know, I may say, well, can we wait a couple of weeks to fill that job, you know, or something like that. We're not there yet, so I want everybody here, I don't plan to have that any kind of layoffs or job cuts. We may not backfill as quickly as maybe we might this year, but we got a ways there yet. So again, some of the reminders, you know, we are required to give to you a budget, a balanced budget in that first meeting in August. So you may look in there and say, what about this or what about that? I mean, I'll give you the highlights like we do every year. You say, man, this is kind of tough. But what I ask of you, you know, what we want to do tonight, but certainly, you know, kind of start thinking about this. Stop by the office, pick up the phone, shoot me an email, let's start saying, hey, kind of what's your thoughts on where we're going, you know? Because I'm asking the department heads to scrutinize their budget. Because 2025 will be challenging. So let's start discussing where we are with this budget now. You know, so let's stay realistic, but let's stay optimistic. You know, already kind of heard some of that tonight. We got to stay optimistic because I think Orange is a good place to be. So again, optimism. Sales tax can be rebounding right now and return to the levels that it was last summer. Last summer was a little crazy. I think people were getting, as Jay says, drunk and disorderly. That's fine, as long as they spend their money here. But, you know, it could rebound and we can get back to where it should be. You know, those new residential developments, those houses are popping up. We need new citizens to come into Orange. I certainly like people to move up in life, but, you know, I think our goal is to attract new citizens so we have more people here for more investment, you know, the sales dollars and all those things they generate, and we have more talent too. And, you know, again, industry can continue to look at Orange and invest in Orange. Like I said, I don't have anything like, oh, they're doing this or they're doing that, but I do know, just like they look everywhere, people are looking here. So, reminder, tonight's discussion, everything I went over, that's about the general fund. Those other funds, you know, don't have the same concerns. I mean, so again, we just kind of look, you know, the enterprise fund, I think one of the challenges going forward for next year, we tighten up the general fund, which we'll have to do, but some of these other funds, like economic development, hey, you can't do this, you know, you can't help with my drainage or do some of this animal control stuff that we might want to do, but yet you're, you know, giving this, you know, this is what we call a wiener schnitzel or something. I don't know if you've been there a while, by saying another Mexican place or, but anyway, hey, this, you know, we're giving them $100,000. You know, you can give them $100,000, but you can't use this. Different funds. We're restricted how we can spend that money. And so, you know, occupancy tax, that's where we do a lot of our events. Oh, you can have a big party, but you can't fix my street. It's restricted funding. So again, put the words of caution or on the general fund, not the general fund. So comments, concerns?
Lots of concerns, but
Yeah.
same issue.
I'm glad you got concerns.
Well, anytime you're talking about less money, it's a concern.
Like I said, you know, if we use that as the big three, you know, sales tax could rebound, property tax, I think we're okay. I don't know what that, you know, I think there's enough people that say at the state level who says, well, you get rid of property tax, how are we gonna make it that revenue? You can't shift that to sales tax, because kind of like Orange, we're gonna go to the sulfur and, you know, go shop in there. So I don't think they're gonna do that. But anyway, so they're smart enough to realize that we take away one revenue stream, gotta make it up somewhere. So I'm not as concerned about property tax as I am right now about sales tax, and also, you know, the idea is that does concern me. But, you know, do what we can. So it may be a tough year. You know, one of the plant managers recently, talking with Jay, me, I'll keep his name confidential, but it's like, you know, industry gets to these cycles, and he's like, we're down right now, so we thought we was gonna pull out, but we haven't. So, with that in mind, that maybe next year or so, we'll start to pull out, say, okay, but for 2025, I don't think it's gonna, again, come back in time for us to do this, but, because again, as we try to do these projections, I don't see the, any kind of evidence or anything there saying, yeah, we can hang our hat on that.
I have a couple comments, I just don't know, you have more, or?
Oh, thank you for your time, and
Okay.
conversation.
So a couple of comments I have, before we do let everyone go. So, as far as the taxable rate, like we went down to 0.7595, 0.783 the year before. I know once we get the numbers in August, or was it
Yeah, we'll give them at the end of July.
end of July? You know, whether it be the de minimis or having to figure out where we are, like this may be a year where we've lowered the tax rate, which you have on that slide every year. This may be the year where it's not gonna make it, it'll be the year where we have to say, we're not gonna be able to just drop it because we can. We may have to figure out what that tax rate is without it going to, the election process or the voting process. I'm sorry, when I said election, I guess because I just voted. So that's one thing. I just had a conversation at the private meeting we were all attending, and I spoke with Chamber of Commerce, the county commissioners, and they were all in agreement as far as David Jones with Gopher. Like, this is the time where we have to get to work. We're the representatives of the community, we're the representatives of the people, the staff, and the team members. So I already made them aware that I would like to work on a shop local campaign. I told them that I had already spoke with you, Mr. Chandler, about it. If we're in a situation like this and we're seeing that numbers are dwindling or dropping, there are things that we can do. We can be advocates for not just our city, but the entire Orange County. Because as you can see, the county gets a 0.5% sales tax as well. So they need to join us in making sure that we're finding ways to not put the tax upon the people. So we will have to work together on that. If I have to put it on the agenda so we can talk about it, that way it's not walking quorum, then I will. But I feel like this is one of those times where God put us here, so we got work to do. So on top of the tax rate, on top of us figuring out a way to get everyone else involved, I also ask as staff, please understand that what we're asking you to do is not something that we're doing just because we want to cut everything. When Mike has asked you to do the 10%, we're looking for the absolute over-the-top lagniappe that even if right now you may feel like, well, it's not really lagniappe, but look at it further, think about it, sleep on it, come back the next day and say, do we really need this in the budget? Can we cut it for now until we see, because we still have until September 27th, as you said before, which I know you have to bring it to us before then, but maybe we'll see something bouncing back from the efforts that we put there. But if you can help us find that lagniappe, the reason why I'm asking is because I don't want you to think that we're being hateful, but before I am the bad guy, I'm just letting you know, we will make those cuts. So if you can help us, I'm just begging and asking you to help with that. Now, like you said, we're not gonna lay people off, we're not wanting to fire people, we're not doing anything like that. We also know that we're going through police and fire negotiations, we're not trying to affect any of that. We know about all of that, that's separate. But if there is something that is in this budget, even if you wanna talk with your team members, look, man, we really don't need this anymore. This is the time to do it, because if it gets to me, I'm just letting you know, I love you, but I will do what is necessary to make sure that we're surviving. I don't want anybody to think that this is Mike. I know we have times people are like, oh, he did this, he takes direction from us. Okay? He takes direction from us. So allow us to do what is right, allow us to be in a position to still be loving and caring, and let's make this work together. So that's all I really had, and thank you for this presentation.
That's all I really had, Michelle, questions or comments?
No, but I do appreciate you bringing this to us earlier than usual, because it gives us time to think about what we might need to change.
Yes, I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your sharing the burden with us, because we will do this together.
So again, I'll say, if y'all wanna come out one day and talk about it again, call, text, email.
We can meet at Guadalajara.
Yeah, not in Guadalajara, yes, Guadalajara's the one. No, it's in,
No, it's us. That's why I said we gotta go to Guadalajara. We can go spend our own money, not the city money, but we'll buy it ourselves. With that $100 we make a month,
You want in?
and put money back into the city.
you go during lunch, pay cash, under $10.
That's it. All right, do we have, before we close, because it is a public meeting, were there any other questions from staff, team members? Or those who are here? Thank you all for being here. I'm happy that we're finally passing. We're not at a 49, a 74. It may not be great, but it's passing. I was the student that took the 74s in school, because my dad was still eligible to play ball. But we're gonna get to a 90. We're gonna get there. If there's nothing else, any comments from council? We're good? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Can we have a motion from Mr. Chandler, a second from Mr. Birch? Ms. McKenna?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan? Mr. Birch? Mr. Chandler? Okay, and please make note of those that were not in attendance. With that being said, all in favor say aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.